Born here. We're gonna do our. We made it to number 4. Last live stream was a debacle and wonderful, and everything ended up with mustaches. So I figure this time we should actually try to do a bit more work. We'll see how that goes. Oh, there's how you do that. Let me drop a link in the Discord here. And then we'll start copy pasting and doing all the fun stuff we usually do. All right, so I'm sure you all know, but one of my favorite parts of the of World 2 was just working with a bunch of different artists. I don't think people really understand how big of a community Flash was, like more so than the technology and the websites and all. It was just all these people that inspired each other and worked together. And for level 3 here, this is TheSwain. This is Mike Swain who did this level. You're on, dude.
Is that my cue?
You're live, man. Yeah, we're having a bit of, but he can't really see what I'm, but you can see the screen at least. So, where is the chat? I want to see what they think about this. But yeah, let me figure this out, and I'm trying to think of where to even start, because I don't know if the level itself is even as interesting as, like, I don't know. Tell us about, like, how you got into Flash, where you started, because you started more as an animator and went into games, and I think the whole story is pretty interesting there.
Yeah, but that is pretty much also the whole story.
Yeah.
I think we covered it. I was talking about this with a friend the other day, because I mean, as Brad, you know, it's hilarious and fun, and sometimes a little bit touching to go back and remember these things, you know. To remember, like, how we even ended up here, and
yeah,
kind of like we said, the kind of friends that we made along the way, which I never would have expected when in 2003 when I ran into a friend of mine had shown me Sallow Fingers 2. I think it just came out in 2003. I love that sound.
Oh God, yeah, not that loud.
Yeah, no, I watched Sallow Fingers, and I watched Burnt Face Man and some other stuff by David Firth, who's one of the elusive artists who got to start on Newgrounds.
He had Salad Fingers.
Big and great now.
Yeah, he's one of the ones that kind of made the jump to YouTube too. And was that kickstarted or?
Very successful, you know. But he, I remember a friend showed me his cartoons, and I thought I could do this. Maybe not, you know, I don't have his style or his talent.
Yeah.
I could make something in Flash. The work that he put into it outside of the creative, but just the physical labor of animating. I thought that doesn't seem that unapproachable. I swore to myself in high school, I had a graphic design class just at high school level, and Flash, one of the earlier versions of Flash, this would have been in like 99, maybe even 98, we were using Flash, but an earlier version, and I remember telling myself, I hate this program, I will never use it. I swore it, I would never use it, and I wouldn't be here doing what I do if I hadn't, you know, gone against my word.
Yeah, I always...
actually picked it up.
No, that's funny, I just... That one thought I think is the most important part of Flash, that I think I can do that. Like, I love that. There's something about because I was talking to Wired recently. They were talking about the death of Flash, and it started kind of just ranting about what was important about it to me, and it was always the most important thing about Flash was okay, sorry, I was making sure that you're on. Wait, are we? Now I gotta really make sure. Oh no, I don't even think. Usually chat tells me when everything. Oh my God, was this really? I might not have been capturing this properly. Say something.
Hey, something.
Oh my God, where's the capture?
Am I not coming through?
I don't think so. Nobody said. Usually people complain pretty quickly. I'm supposed to be capturing the desktop audio, and now I'm really annoyed. Chat, where are you at?
We'll take it from the top.
I mean, they might be able to hear some from this mic, but that's embarrassing. Yeah, it's not. I don't know. You guys need to tell me if this is working or not, because even when I switch it, it's not showing it. Let me see. I need to check it on. This is why we need like a whole nother hour just to figure out if things work or not.
Well, on my behalf, take your time. time. I'm working in the background.
Yeah.
Talking, and also I'm here until like 7:30 or 8, probably 8 o'clock. I'll probably be finished with work. So we have at least an hour and a half that I can.
Okay, we can hear y'all. Okay. Oh, thank God. Okay. Like just now or the whole time? Okay. Well, and then we. That's why I need to chat on the other thing. Got to keep it on Discord there. Okay. That's what I'm wondering. Does it sound like it's just coming through my mic, or is it actually piping Swain in the whole time? Oh, thank God. Okay. Stream disaster averted here. Capture plus. Yeah, I don't know. It's not showing the waveform, but if it's working, it's working. Okay. All right. I don't know. I'm not gonna question it. It's this thing's working. You gotta learn to not ask why, like code sometimes. All right. So where were? Yeah. So there's something about like Flash as this is all-encompassing, like thing, right? Now we're getting question marks. Brad got the stream working. Yay. Okay. Where if you want to make a Flash thing, you kind of understand what you need to do. You download Flash and you kind of go from there. Like you don't have to understand the different parts of it. And it just like it's funny you say salad fingers because that I had that thought more on much rougher, sillier animations, just like I can do that. Maybe my bar is a bit lower, but yeah, just that moment of you can see inside the black box. And I mean that's like why I like streaming and all that, because I want to show people that sort of thing. Let's see if I can click over here without. Okay, good. There we go. And then so what made you want to get in the games?
Well, ultimately, Brad, games.
Okay, let's not do that while we talk.
Friggin' squiggles.
Friggin' squiggles.
Yeah, friggin' squiggles. So yeah, that had been my calling. I didn't know it yet because I wasn't actually working in game design or any kind of development, really, other than just animating. But I hadn't. It hadn't occurred to me that I could take that. Kids want to be an astronaut or the president. I wanted to make video games.
Yeah.
Always for me. And working in Flash, I hadn't really anticipated at the time that was going to be my way of learning how to get from like one summer camp's worth of learning the C++ language, or a couple years of doing some QBasic programming in my off time when I was in elementary school and middle school. Like turning that kind of like fun recreational but like going nowhere skill into something that I could potentially, I wouldn't even say turn a profit at, but let's just say work at, like really actually put myself into.
Yeah, well.
And Flash was the segue for that. If it wasn't for Flash, I wouldn't have had a way to go from, let's not say leverage, but to jump from animating to, hey, wait, I can make games and do the animating and also make this interactive. And heck, that's actually what Flash was designed for. Not games, but interactivity.
Yeah, that's a weird conundrum, right? Because it almost feels like Flash wasn't designed for games, but it kind of was. But like, I don't know.
It was designed for something that let's say it was designed for the parent class of games, which is interactive applications, but not games themselves. But we sort of jammed that round peg into the square hole of making games. I mean, and you're still working on it. Folk is still making that Newgrounds itself is working on. Not even Behemoth, but Newgrounds is going to have a game title.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering why that was still in Flash. That makes more sense.
It's because I don't know. One of these days, when Tom is done with this game in like another 9 years or whatever, I'm hoping that he and I have talked about working together, because Crinkles and I work exclusively together and have for the last, if you include Flash games, the last like 8 years. Yeah, it's been about 6 for this game, so, and then we were working in Flash games before that, so like 8 years. Yeah.
Jeez.
So I mean, he and I are going to work together for as long as we can make that happen. But it'd be nice to get Tom and maybe Jeff, John Utah, on board. I'd love to poach Afro Ninja too, away from doing our game stuff and get him to come work with us.
Yeah, he was doing the Soda Dungeon, right? Is that
Soda Dungeon too, yeah,
okay?
the proper big game.
Yeah, it's crazy to see where
He's got
everybody
a
is.
he's got a kid now too. Hold on, I have
Uh,
I should show you his Christmas card. It's around here somewhere. He's got a little boy. I think Max is his name. Maxwell.
yeah, man, I'm saying like just back then, it's such a lifetime ago. Oh, beautiful! I
Yeah.
couldn't even do that without bumping my head there. Um, but yeah, I'm kind of fiddling with the audio because I feel like this should be. I swear it was working before, but like it works. It works. Um, man, it was so weird because like back then, like Tom Folk is like this superstar,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's just a whole different. I don't even know where I'm going with this thought. It's this whole different community. Because I remember the first time, um, like I feel like if I had the choice and I knew how it was going to be, I would have made games just to be part of that. Like I remember the first
That's
time
funny.
when I went in I guess it was Comic-Con, and like the first time meeting Tom, it was like some famous actor, so I was just like, oh my god, that's Tom Folk. Like it's this guy with this stupid little icon that made these dumb Pico games that me and all my friends played. And then
Yeah.
we showed up at the bar, I guess it was like that night after Comic-Con, and we're just I'm probably mixing events, but the first time I met you, at least, it was really funny because we're like, I think it was Lewis I was probably talking to, and I was just like, well, who
Yeah.
else
He
is
was
here?
listening.
What's that?
Yeah. I had just played. I think I just played Nuclear Eagle like right before I met you. So like your name was
Yeah,
coming up.
that's my big game. Yeah.
Well, that had just made it to front page, so that was like the most
Okay.
recent memory I had played Fancy Pants before.
Yeah, well, I went to Comic Con the first time with Luca, who did the art for that, and I
Yeah,
remember
like I
we
remember
walked in
seeing
the
that.
bar and we're like, all right, or whatever it was, we're like, all right, who's here? Like, I want to meet some famous Flash artists because that's top tier to me, right? I don't care about celebrities or like, and then people named a few, and I'm like, I don't know if I play that, and then someone goes, oh, the Swain's here. And it's like, yeah, the up and coming, animator. He just released some. You've seen those Blockhead cartoons? And I was like, oh yeah, that's like the last thing I watched before coming here.
That's
And
funny.
it's like, yeah, he's over
I
there.
met you guys at that same time. That was that exact moment. My flight got in like late, and everybody else was like meeting up at the bar. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
you might have already been there when I walked in, but I met Afro Ninja at that exact moment. He was the
Hmm.
first one. And Lewis and Crinkles and of course Tom Folk. I met yourself. I met Luca. I met the Cyanide and Happiness guys that evening also because
Yeah,
they dropped in for a second.
I think I
Yeah,
I saw. I might
that
have
was really
seen the.
good.
I saw those guys earlier because they were like, oh, Fancy Pants. I played that all through high school. And I was like, you're the Cyanide and Happiness guys. What the hell? Come on.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
anybody knows, God, I don't know. We're gonna get into old jargon and stuff, but that's because that's the I don't know. I feel like so much is being lost. That has nothing to do with just Flash as a technology.
yeah.
Like I don't know. Does actually that's probably too. I was about to say like does Zynga get together with other people, but like I think they're dead too, or did they move on to mobile?
That I
I
don't
don't know.
know. I
Yeah,
haven't kept up.
it's so weird. Um,
Well, it's funny in that stage. That's back when I thought if the countries of the world merge, it'd be the U.S. And Japan. But now we know it's U.S. and China probably, or maybe
they
U.S. and Russia. The way things are going.
Are they oh, I could make some very bad jokes. I shouldn't do that.
Yeah, yeah. We'll keep it civil.
Yeah. No, but it's funny though, like right here is CS6, which is awful and horrible to draw in, and I can still go and grab your art, throw it into a newer file, and I guess for me it's an updated engine.
Yeah,
Doing everything in AS3 now, which is ooh. But I don't know, I mean, what are y'all working on now? Is it all Unity?
yeah, yeah. We started up in Unity. We decided that which was an amazing choice. And
Hmm.
I've been asked recently about that, like the big differences moving from Flash to Unity. Like what have been the pitfalls? And I really struggle to answer that question in a way that doesn't make me look I'm just crapping on Flash, and it's not that it
Yeah.
deserves it. It's again because it's not meant for what we've been using it
Well,
for.
I mean, everything's in 3D now, so that's
Yeah, everything's in 3D, but it didn't have to be. Like we could have chosen to
sure.
go the route of Unity 2D and make it spiritually the full successor to the, I mean, a true sequel to the previous game, not just
Hmm.
a reimagining, which is effectively what it is, because gameplay has had to entirely change to incorporate the 3D dynamic, which the last game did not have.
Yeah, I mean,
In
looking
fact,
at
you'd be
it.
surprised. I've had to do things like just to get it so, like, you might remember the Project Nexus game that Crinkles and I did back in 2012. Or it might have been 11. No, it was 12. March of 12, I think. And so originally, like, you fire up a bullet, and the bullet travels across the screen, and you raycast to see if at any point that bullet is going to open with and interact with a character.
Yeah.
It doesn't care about the Z depth. It doesn't matter how far backward or foreground he is. You draw a line across the screen. If it hits someone, it hits someone. But that doesn't work in 3D. Unless you go out of your way and decide you want to make your game like the original 2D game and program into it a whole thing that designs a plane that is perpendicular to the... it's parallel with the view of the screen, but it's perpendicular to the path of the bullet, and you detect a plane that doesn't exist along the path of the bullet to see if it intersects with that plane. When fires a gun.
Is that using orthographic camera or?
Yeah, the camera angle actually changes whether or not you can hit somebody. It's like an aim assist that I don't think I've ever seen in any other game ever, which is the bullet you intended for it to fly behind the guy or in front of him, basically. Right. But so long as the visual of the 2D, what's being drawn on screen, so long as the bullet intersects with that character somewhere, the game will detect that and it'll give you the hit.
Oh, okay, yeah. I always say that like Ty needs, Ty needs to go to the player. What's that?
Yeah, I was saying I felt it was insane to even try to add this to a game. Like, why is that name stuff that anybody needs? But it felt naked without it. Like I don't know, lost something from the transition from Flash.
Well, there's that like Ty goes to the player, and once you see two things intersect, I mean, especially a game that's coming from a strictly 2D, that probably just makes more sense.
Yeah.
There's so much.
There are times that, like, you might try to shoot somebody on the other side of a character that you weren't intending to aim at, so there's no way to disable or enable it. I mean, I could give players the option in an options menu, but there's no case by case that would like intuitively know.
Would you like your bullets? Would you like your bullets to go behind things instead of killing them? Like, I feel like that might never really.
Well, right, but imagine I like the idea of giving the option to players because it doesn't, that way they can decide whether or not they're pissed off at it.
Oh, like a hardcore mode.
Across the room, and this guy that was in front of you might have taken the hit.
Oh, right. Yeah, so why not? And this is probably something more about what I would do, because I've done auto aim in 2D from that plane. Why not curve the bullet at the bad guy that's in the line of sight specifically?
I would just I had thought about that, is to just have this whole flowchart that decides which target is the most intended target based on the player. But the problem with that is not really the problem. Is that bullets don't use the physics engine at all. They're just ray tracing raycasting every frame, every tick, and the distance that their speed would dictate. And I feel like to know that you're going to hit that guy on the other side of the game would have to pretty much do the raycast all at once.
Right.
And I'm doing that almost every single frame just at least the bullet fires.
Well, once it fires.
Calculation, like redundancy, and I didn't think the game would benefit from the redundancy. So I still could.
I mean, because I do something when you shoot the ink in Super Fancy Pants. If something, it kind of does this cone outward, and then also like a normal check, because if things get too close, but then sometimes you would hit them anyway, and it's like you just got to play the game over and over again. And it's not about what's accurate. It's about what like feels correct at the end of the day. And if you watch other people play and they're just like, I should have hit that, and you're like, yeah, you probably should have hit that. So let's give them that. How can we give them that?
What we faced, same thing. Especially once once you have people putting their videos on YouTube. We don't discourage. We're anxious about Witcher 3 syndrome, where everybody thought it was going to be a crappy game with bad graphics because people were playing the game on the lowest settings. Before they were starting to put out the published, finished stuff to counter that opinion. So I mean, we do get nervous about that, but also who cares?
Is there that different of a?
Just watching people play.
I mean, it's a pretty restricted viewpoint. Is there that much of a difference between difficulty settings, or is it just slow down and stuff?
You mean as far as what people are putting online?
Yeah. Well, I mean, could they turn the game low enough that it looks terrible? Because
Yeah,
It's not like a huge
yeah,
draw distance or anything, you know.
right. Our game is not like a work of art when you flip it on. It's not like it's gonna change. It's not like the first time you played like Braid or something where it redefines visuals
Well, no,
of
it's certain.
that.
I mean, it's once you have that controlled viewpoint, you can definitely where your CPU is going and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah, for the most part. And it's because the game is isolated in little modules, like every room is like a
Mm.
banister too. Every room is like a little module, it's an area you fight in. So we can go crazy with the graphics, like point
Yeah,
lights everywhere,
yeah,
messing with all kind of like draw calls that like an obscene number of draw calls that you shouldn't do in a game and it's
yeah.
just bad design by us, but we choose to do it because we can get away with it.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, why not?
but even so, you know, we've seen people playing the game and having their perspectives when they play, and I mean like really like paying attention to the way people play the game to
Mm.
see our intention versus the reality of how people pick it up intuitively or unintuitively if they're really struggling. And like one of the things we learned, we saw Tom Folk doing this. We saw
Mm.
when you put the game to him years ago. We saw this at one of the Pico days. We had people playing an earlier version of the game, but more complete than playable anyway.
Yeah,
And something people do is they tend to want to move the mouse, which represents the cursor, like where you're aiming at.
right.
They tend to want to move the mouse overlapping the head of the character they're shooting at. But what happens
Okay.
when you do that is you're actually aiming at the floor on the other side of his head in a direction from where the camera is aiming central down his frustrum towards the like towards the floor behind him. So you end up like shooting behind the
So
guy.
you're
As you're
trying to
aiming at
click
his
him in
head.
the head, and that's
Yeah. Yeah, because it's 3D space, so you don't really
right.
know where it is you're aiming at or what. So we
Ooh.
had to do all these little funny things to show you that where you're actually aiming is a square thing on the floor, and there's a little reticle above it that shows where your bullet will travel. And it took a while to get
Yeah.
it to feel a little bit intuitive, but that's actually the whole reason why I did the whole track the bullet hitting the plane behind
Yeah,
the side
that's.
thing.
I mean, that's because if you're doing a first-person shooter and something's here and you're aiming at it, then you know it's there. And if you move over, then it's. I mean, it's basically right next to it. But if you're doing it
Right.
isometrically, you're here, and then okay, now you're like way over here.
Yeah.
That's an
Yeah.
interesting issue to solve. I
Yeah,
never thought
in
of
a
all that stuff.
first-person shooter game, yeah, your view is whatever your reticle is on. That's what you're pointing at. That's your intention for your aim, and that's where your character's going to shoot. Even though you're not looking down the barrel sight,
Hmm.
usually not exactly. And then they did the same thing, I suppose, in 3D trailing games, trailing camera games. But yeah, for ours, that wasn't really an option. So we've also played a lot of games that have had trouble like that, and I actually feel that our controls
Oh no, that's not.
are
This is
better
odd.
than other games like for
Yeah.
example Hatred, which is not it's not a great game, but it's a beautiful game for kind of the disgusting angle they took it.
Is
But
that the weird? Oh, that's the In Hell one, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Hatred is the one where yeah, Hatred is the one that's like
Not the
Postal.
one that like looks like a PlayStation game.
Yeah, it plays like Postal, and it's such a like I don't know, trenchcoat mafia, like I don't know, like
Hmm.
emo. It's like Nathan Explosion from Metalocalypse is going around killing police officers. That's basically the game, and it's actually a really visually gorgeous game. But
Yeah.
it's got its own head up its ass. It takes itself way too seriously.
I mean, man, that's.
Like any humor, that it would be so much better. Like
Mm.
just the type of flavor of humor.
Yeah. Instead, it's just a power trip. I'm trying to find ways of describing it. By the way, the reason I'm struggling is
Yeah,
I'm trying to use more. I need to use more profanity to express how I feel about it.
sure.
So we'll curb my answer and just say that it's very full of itself. It takes itself very seriously.
Yeah.
It's a power fantasy for, incels.
Incel game.
Less.
Is that a genre
Yeah,
on,
kind
on
of.
Steam? Incel game. No.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder. I mean, there's like 20 people watching. What does the chat want to hear from us? Because I could just sit and talk game design all day.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you guys want to hear more about Flash, or like animations, Newgrounds stuff. Keep it more fancy pants, or just like keep it more general. Doesn't look at the chat. He types it as I'm asking the chat what you guys want. I usually read like every single thing from the chat, which I'm not doing as much now because we're just talking. And I'm thinking about probably eventually trying to copy this over, but I'm being very lazy about it because Yeah, this is like a field day for me, just sitting and talking game design about like anything, because I'll do this to Fairly all day long, and she's just like, I'm sick of hearing about all these video games I don't care about. So let's see. No, they just want more mustaches. How did other artist level creation work? So that okay, that's a little interesting because before, in World One, so they just introduced bitmap caching, and that was the only way to get all those stupid vectors working at once. And
Oh yeah, that saved us in Project Nexus. We could have as many bodies on the floor as we wanted to. It was fine.
did you do the actual draw, or did you use the bitmap? Like, did you use a bitmap thing and just cache them onto it, or
It actually depends on the object. Things like bullet casings when they sat
Mm.
still and character bodies, I believe those actually got drawn to one single bit.
Yeah.
So it was just a flat image the game would hang on to, and if you ever
No, the first time I saw that on Stranded, it's like, yeah, this new bitmap thing you can do, and they were just doing blood splatters everywhere. I was like, oh my god, how did you do that? There's literally, you don't delete the blood splatters. How did you do that? It's like this just next generation Flash thing. And then, so yeah, in Fancy Pants 1, you just check, cache's bitmap, and I never used the scaling, so it would keep it all as one thing. And then with 2, not enough memory. You know what? I probably just need to close this and open it in the newer Flash. It doesn't want. It's not doing it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't actually. I think the so CS6 is the only one that's going to be able to show the ActionScript 2 on frames, but for the most part, I can still just open in here, which is pretty cool. So I had to move all my windows open to keep your face up there. So with the first one, I cut all the levels in the sections because there was a size limit, and then for World 2, I didn't want to make the cameo artists like, give them those restrictions. I just wanted to have them draw it out however they wanted to, using movie clips or groups or whatever. And then I used the actual draw command to paste, and it's still what I do today, and even the new engine, you make a tile set of bitmaps and then just. And so that actually, because of the cameo artist, I wanted to, I overhauled how that worked. So I modernized instead of the very, because there's like, if you're making an interface for somebody else, you have to think of all the ways that they could mess up. With you, it's just, I'll just hard code that. It doesn't really matter. So it basically forced me to stop hard coding how bitmaps worked. And so you could just draw it all out all pretty, and then the engine would handle the bitmap size and all the dumb things like that. Let's see. Swain, yeah, I sent you a thing. I just want to look at the stream go by. The stream's pretty dead. Come on, guys. Usually you're adding me constantly. I'm like, I don't do I'll only read if it's super chat, so they just talk to me constantly. Are the physics a problem? So physics they're one of the most complicated parts of Fancy Pants, and they're also completely hand-coded. Now, I mean, maybe you can shed some light on this. I feel like going to Unity, one of the biggest draws is to have all the the raycasts, the 2D physics. You have even the time. What do you call that? You said it earlier. Like even in Unity, from what little I saw of it, it handles the time duration from the last frame itself. Like, you just give objects a speed instead of doing that all yourself. Like, it seems like using Unity does so much more for you related to making games, whereas Flash just doesn't do any of it.
Well, that's why you never really hear. I suppose you could call anything an engine, but nobody ever refers to Flash as an engine, really, do they?
I think of Flash as like a good level creator engine, because here's all the things. I'm gonna stick some things here, and I want to move the squiggle. I take it, I move it, and then it's moved. So it's kind of, because people ask, when is Fancy Pants getting a level creator? It's one, I draw everything. I draw the collision. I just paste stuff in there. So unless you're turning everything into lines and stuff, and raycasting to it, you can't really. It's all blobs. All the collisions blobs. It's fun. But I don't know. It's a more art centric pipeline that I think makes it fairly unique. And so when we move to Unity, it's gonna be more about like mimicking the uniqueness of that. So I don't know. I'm trying to think. Come on, chat, help me out. Face a problem. Why is your name? I get that so much. It's from a dumb old movie we made in high school, and that's it. Hey, Mike, why is your name TheSwain? It's a good one.
Because my last name is Swain, and
damn it, I haven't even opened a file yet. Keep going, stretch it out.
I had to like differentiate between me and my brother, who also went by Swain with his friends. So I'm like, yeah, he's Swain, but I'm the Swain. I came first.
Oh, I didn't know that. That actually, that's good. That's new information.
Yeah, there we go. Little known facts. So my dark histories.
Can I help on Fancy Pants? We'll see.
Yes, you can.
So how's it feel? Because you've done your own art for so long. Do you contribute to any of the art and animation on Madness,
Rarely.
or is that all Crinkles?
Rarely. It's all Crinkles. But in the beginning, when he and I both started off not knowing anything about Blender, we were pretty evenly matched. Like we both knew our way around, Sci or Photoshop or whatever, and everything animated, or that is to say 3D animated or 3D modeled. He and I were just about in the same boat, but since I started to focus on programming and on scripting the game, he went off to continue to develop and learn Blender, and so now he's doing things with armatures. That is to say, the 3D bone structure that manipulates how the physical it's moving. He's doing stuff with that I can't even like actually grasp entirely how it works, and yet it does.
Yeah, that's a good thing about working together.
I don't have much that I can contribute that will match what he's doing. But I mean, that said, I do have some art background, so I take care of most of like the visual effects in the game, particles, like glowing stuff. I programmed the shaders, almost all of them. So, and that is to say, shaders being, for those who don't know, is how you translate 3D information or information from the game into what the monitor draws. So, AKA, it's just what you see. It's the programming for what you see.
I don't think I've ever heard it put that way. Actually, that's interesting. That's how you take what's 3D and.
That's all a shader is, right? It's what through your graphics tells the graphics draw to the monitor.
Because I always think of a shader as like the extra. Like what else can you do to this image? Not necessarily like the process in which you take this 3D thing and make it 2D.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, totally. It's entirely based on if you're describing things like post effects, like depth of field or blur.
That's probably mostly what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, those are still shaders, except instead of being given information like 3D information, you're given information about each fragment. That is to say, the pixel fragment on the screen. Anything from the depth buffer, which shows you how close or far things are.
Yeah.
The colors of the pixels that already exist. And then from there, you can do things like create bloom lighting and all the fun stuff that take your game from out-of-box Unity to still out-of-box Unity, but prettier.
It's interesting. Always saying, like, I like to kind of keep up with how emulation's working for older games, just because they have to deal with these bizarre behaviors of older hardware. And when you say depth buffer, it's the first thing I think of, because like. There's so many weird tricks just to do that. I guess everything's kind of boring now though and standardized.
Yeah.
It's easy to get. At least you can get on any platform you want. Porting has to be. Yes. So what's the plan for Madness? If it's in Unity, it can run on everything. I'm sure you've been asked about a Switch port a million times, because I sure have for Super at least.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty. So our game has gone through enough revamps. I love you can ask me a simple question and I can say, well, in the beginning, God begot Adam and Eve. I can just start from.
There's simple questions. There's never simple answers.
No, not so much. Not in our line of work. But I mean, short answer, yeah. We're looking to put it on Switch and maybe at some point with more difficulty, trying to use whatever connections we have through Tonful, Newgrounds, and the Behemoth to get onto Xbox would be great. PlayStation if we can do it.
Is Behemoth like publishing games yet? That's what I'm really wondering.
They're back to like, I think they're doing aren't they doing like an I don't know, they're doing an alien hominid thing now.
Invasion or whatever.
To, like, they weren't as popular as their original releases. Battle Block was good, but not great compared to Castle Crashers.
Right. Well,
which will
God,
always
Castle
remain.
Crashers was freaking amazing, dude. We during one of the hurricanes, because I'm in the south over here,
Mhm.
we all went to my uncle and aunt's house, and they have a bunch of kids, and a bunch of my cousins went over there. Power goes out. Fire up the generator. I brought my TV because it was pretty new and really expensive,
Yeah.
and like hell, I was gonna let that drown somewhere in my dorm or whatever. So we
Right.
hooked the TV, hooked the 40-inch Samsung up to the generator, put on Castle Crashers, and we were just playing Castle Crashers in the dark without power for like the entire
Yeah.
hurricane. It was incredible.
It's fantastic.
No, this
I
game's
love the
so
idea.
good.
Right. There's right in that order. Fridge. Get the fridge working. And
I think we got the we hooked up the AC first because, like I said, the South. No, dude, forget the fridge. We just ate all the ice cream. It was there was nothing left in the fridge after that. No, my family is huge. If you unleash us at a fridge, that fridge does not need to be powered on after that.
That's one way of putting
Yeah.
it. In the meantime, today while you're working on porting some of the stages over from
Yeah.
Flash next. Today I'm working on breakable weapons. Something that used to be in the previous the Flash incarnation of the game we're working on now was your melee weapons had health to them, and that felt like it really gave weapons turnover.
Yeah.
And it gave you a reason to scavenge more instead of picking up the one weapon you're going to use for the rest of the game
Right.
and never get rid of it. Yeah, which I don't like, and it's outside the spirit of this game.
No, I feel like
So,
no, that's really interesting because that's what Breath of the Wild is getting so much flack for.
yeah.
And the
Well,
second you
that's
say
also
breakable
forces you to
weapons,
craft. Like, you have to craft stuff
okay.
to replace the stuff that you broke, you know?
Well, I mean, the second you say breakable weapons, you have to be looking at like how Breath of the Wild has been doing, or like what people think about that sort of mechanic, right? Like you're looking
it's
at
true. You absolutely have to, yeah.
because I remember when we were doing Mirror's Edge 2D, the director on the game kept saying, we need bad guys with guns. We need bad guys with guns in Mirror's Edge 2D. How do you translate that 2D? And at the same time, I was reading reviews of Mirror's Edge 3D. That was like, the worst part of the game is bad guys with guns. We hate bad guys. And I was like, dude, no, I don't want to do this. So, like, do you feel like there could be any, maybe there's the design of madness? I mean, there's constantly guns everywhere, right? So it probably is more like Dynamite Cop than Breath of the Wild with the destructible weapons.
Bearing in mind that it's because this is an arcade style game. The idea, of course, is like unlike say Castle Crashers, where you go to the whale, which is your armory, and you take out your. There was a whale. It was like a cat or something like that. I forget. But you go inside the stuff with the monsters,
I don't know.
Get your weapons. But then that doesn't change. Like that doesn't change anything about your experience except for your stats. And that was one of those things about this game that although Castle Crashers is beloved, not even in spite of, but bearing that in mind. Johnny Utah had pointed that out to me, and I never was able to unsee it, is that every single attack, every single character is the same.
Yeah. Well, it's the...
Using your character skill.
I thought about this. Yeah, it's the special attacks that is where the upgrade and the diversity comes from, I think.
Yeah.
Because it was always...
Other than stats, and other than your general stats and your magic, that's the only thing different from character to character than the weapon. That was it.
Yeah, I don't know.
And the little companion orb things also like change your game effects, obviously. So that's something that we're doing in Madness, and I think that's why I bring that up to make it relevant to this, is that we have Madness designed so many different kinds of combat animations based on skill, based on weapon type. You use a chainsaw, you're going to push it into somebody.
Of course.
You're not swinging it like fencing, like with a rapier.
Isn't that was in the I feel like that was in the original Nexus. It was very like almost a ballet, very graceful swinging of chainsaws.
You did have like skill levels that you would like build yourself up from. So you did start from little baby attacks into like more skilled master level. And even that alone, that feeling of progression of becoming amazing in combat, that felt really good.
How
now
much?
We have that multiplied by the different kinds of weapons we have as well.
So there's a really good point. How much is the player progressing? Them becoming more skillful versus them getting more weapons and upgrading their stats and all that.
You mean like how much does each one of those things like the change you feel?
Well, one of the things that I always think about when making games is there are the games, especially like free to play, the ones that need to kind of control how good you are. their progression is almost entirely based on your stats, because they need to be able to restrict your stats, and then if you pay money, then you get more stats. But what I've always found more meaningful, I was talking to somebody about this, and I said, what's important about this game you're playing? They're like, I don't know, it's fun. It's like, okay, what if I delete your save file? It's like, then I have nothing. I was like, no, you don't. Like,
Right.
you have everything you've ever learned about that game. You start from ground zero. Where are you? I'm like, I'm at nothing. Like, no, you have all this knowledge. You've internalized your playthrough. You have, the muscle memory, the experience, the lore, stuff like that. And I feel like people don't really think about what the progression that the player makes in real life, and the progression that, other than very competitive games, versus the progression, just the numbers and all that. So like, how much room do you feel like you have for the player to? How different does it look if somebody picks up for the first time versus somebody who really understands the systems?
I guess that depends. And if we're talking about, like, say, I know you never said difficulty, but if we apply that as well,
You can take what I said however you want, as long as it's a better answer. Fine with me.
Yeah. Well, honestly, that's hard to say. Our story campaign is based on progression. So if somebody, say, deleted your save file,
Yeah,
and you wanted to play a stage that you've beaten before, you'd have to play your way through to be able to get to that, which I imagine is not too dissimilar from your game as well.
Yeah, well, how much quicker will you go through that? How much cooler will it look? Like, I don't know, for some reason, the game that I felt this the most was Resident Evil 4, where I beat it, and then I immediately wanted to go back to the village and just, like, rock the faces off of all the zombies, or whatever they were called. I felt like...
You're making your own fun. Like, it's part of the game. That is
Well, I felt like I was, as a player, rather than my upgrades, as a player with my knowledge, I was equipped to face them in a completely different way than the first time I played. And I wanted to see how that looked, how much better I was.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, where does the difficulty come? I guess you have to always ask. And I really haven't played the new Madness, so don't take this as a critique, but it's just one of the things that I think about. Does the difficulty come from your stats being too low, or does it come from the player needing to understand the systems better? And what does it look like from a player just playing versus, like, somebody trying to speed run it? And how much of a gap is there? How much mastery can the player have of that?
Well, finding and definitely striking a balance between how much of the game does it feel like the game is playing of itself?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if your stats are high enough,
Yeah,
the game becomes so ludicrously easy that me and Matt have come to describe it as the game plays itself.
Oh, hello.
Is that the cat?
That's the cat. There's the cat. He wants to listen. He says, game design, I love game design. He's so loud.
Cat should come in.
It's a live stream. We need cats. Give us cats.
Yeah, there we go. But yeah, anyway, I remember Matt and Chris and I were having a conversation like way earlier in development, probably like 3 years ago, and we were talking about the character of Hank, who's the protagonist for Madness cartoon series.
Of course.
He's one of the playable protagonists in the game among 3 other characters, and he's supposed to be generally, a bad dude. He's supposed to be very strong. So in the beginning, we just kind of gave him these impossibly good stats, and gave the other characters, Stanford and Demos, who worked as a team but are individually not nearly as common, lower stats. And you would play them later in the game. The expectation being Hank is tutorializing the game by giving you a character with amazing stats, but then the game takes that away and gives you these characters that are slower, they attack slow. And if I can say, by comparison, aren't as fun.
Yeah.
It was giving it that, like, Assassin's Creed, Altair, problem of, here's all the weapons in the game for the first 20 minutes of gameplay. Now give them back and earn them.
I wanna pull the curtain back. What game influenced you the most to do that? Because I've seen that's happened. I've seen that done a few times. Metroid Prime in the I'm always gonna go back to Metroid Prime 1, where you have all your missiles and stuff, and then you get stripped later. Like, what game influenced you the most to do that, or is it just something that kind of came naturally?
I don't know that I did. In fact, I've known forever to dislike that when games do it. I
Mhm.
think that it's not a good idea. It teaches the players something that I think they don't mean to teach them, which is not look how awesome you're going to be eventually
Okay.
when you get all this back. But instead, it's like look at all these things that you don't get to have.
Well,
And
what's that different from what you're doing then?
Well,
That's
the thing.
interesting.
I don't. We didn't model this
Okay.
to the best of my knowledge, unless it was totally subliminal and subconscious or an unconscious choice. But we didn't choose to do that so much as it sort of happened.
Okay.
You would play as Hank at the beginning because he's strong, and we knew that meant that you're going to be able to blast enemies without much difficulty, at least for the tutorialized beginning of the game. And and it got to a point where Matt and I were talking about it, but shouldn't Hank have powerful skills? Like, shouldn't he have the best of everything? What we realized, what we were actually saying is, shouldn't Hank just play the game for himself so that you don't have to? And once we realized that was what we were arguing in favor of, and that in fact, if Madness as a cartoon series can be seen as though it's a representation of a game, that is to say, in cartoon, if players were playing those characters, then doesn't it stand the reason? And this is why I'm talking about this, and how we get back to your question. Doesn't it stand to reason that the reason Hank is better in the cartoons than Sanford and Demos is because the player of Hank is better than the player of Sanford and Demos? And that, when we thought of that, suddenly Hank can now be more fragile. The reason he doesn't get hit often is because the player playing him is good enough to keep themselves from being hit. If he does get hit, shouldn't he, like anybody? Why does he have more hit points? Why is he a tougher combat? So when we made that distinction, the game sort of it kind of found itself out. And anytime, anywhere in the game, it felt like the game was quote playing itself. We cut it or we revised it in such a way where it feel that way.
Well, okay, so that's extremely interesting because it almost, at first glance, it feels like a contradiction to me because the player is still worse when they're playing as Hank as when they're playing as the rest of the characters, right?
Yeah, I would prefer to say different, I think.
Okay.
Hank is faster with his attacks, but he's a little frail. He doesn't get his upgrades in the game that cause him to power because the way the character's based, I mean, he's also, if you think about it, the one single character who's died more than any other character in the cartoon, so it doesn't stand to reason he should be the so yeah, making him more frail kind of fits with the canon, as though that really matters. Doesn't. Game comes first before,
So how did
gameplay comes before design?
I also I wonder what's different about Metroid, if you can clarify that a bit. Metroid giving you all the upgrades and then taking them away versus giving you a character that's much stronger and further along and then giving you a character that's not.
And then taking them back?
Yeah.
I think that there's a sort of psychological... I suspect, I have no reason to believe this is true, but if I had to say there's a difference, and I was really just grasping at straws, which I am, I think I would say that the major difference is the kind of psychological contract that you have with the player.
Okay.
That if you give them a super character and then have them, now they wake up in bed and they're like, baby Link's Awakening or something, little guy with no items and just and all his whole future ahead of him. I think that psychologically players know the difference between. Okay. I'm not going to be playing this guy. This is not going to be me. I think it's better to have a character that has all of his things, but you don't get access to them, like a Kratos or something like that. Right. He's protecting the boy, so he's holding back, and eventually he'll unleash all of the power. Rather than acknowledging that, Samus ends every Metroid with a stockpile of weapons.
But then you think
all those weapons at the beginning of the next game. Oops, but we're going to take them away.
I think okay.
Take it away in the beginning.
You're getting into something really interesting, because you're talking more about something that's so intangible about game design, where these are two different skins to characters. Like on a technical level, the two different characters are probably not that different. But you're saying because they're a different character, because they have a different fiction to them, that's what matters. It's like I remember I was playing on the phone that Tap Tap Revolution or whatever, and depending on what song it was, right, because the song plays and then you have the different dots and it's all the same thing on a technical level. But depending on the feel of the song, it made like pushing those dots feel completely different. And I think once you take your game seriously, And once you kind of dig into the fiction and you take the player's emotions seriously, then you can start making game design choices based on just how the player feels rather than like the raw numbers, because it's always, there's the art to it is taking those raw numbers and making them into emotions. And it's fun when you get into the answer to a question that is like because the emotion is different. It's not, I cannot give you the numbers of why this is better, but it's because of our like the identity to the game and because of who this character is. I love answers like that, so that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's also one of those things. It's so extremely nuanced that there is no way, unless you've done it, that you'd be ever be able to like predict it. And these things are infinite. There's all kinds of experiences players are gonna have in the game.
Yeah.
That we developers or even players themselves don't even know they're experiencing. We don't get to know until we've made the mistakes that lead us towards having a better understanding of it. Like we have to kind of see it, and to even know that that's the thing you should be concerned about is that part of the character, or sorry, that part of the player's experience.
I'm the kind of person, like, I don't learn anything until I've messed it up, right? Mm-hmm. So like I don't learn how to get anywhere until I've gotten lost trying to get there. So I think that works pretty well for me with game design, where you just kind of you got to see. You get to see how other people take to it. There's a thing where people some developers will say that the player is always right. How do you feel about that? Like if a player tries to play your game wrong, like your player tries to play your game wrong, like should they be penalized for playing the game wrong?
No, I don't think so. Like, okay. For example, if you think of games like I think some of the most fun I've ever seen, Oni, Chris Oni, some of the most fun I've ever seen him have playing a game is almost always in trying to break it or have fun with the physics. Things like James Bug in GTA, if you drive the car, that one swing set, and it launches your car, like he'll for hours he'll just do that instead.
But like that is
in Red Dead Redemption, that makes John Marston go drunk and doing stuff on like scaffolding to see what kind of like stupid geriatric nonsense you can get him into. Making your own fun is I think I don't want to just when we make these stages we have a guy, one of our lead testers, who goes by the name of Gangry, and he like his thing in our game is to break it. He enjoys breaking it, finding ways of using powers to lift somebody up and launch them, give physics into places they're not supposed to go, to break the boundaries. And every time he sends me like he shows me some new place he got to, I open up the game and I find that part of the game and I put an invisible blocker up to prevent anybody from getting there.
Right.
And he didn't know I was doing that. And one day I updated a version of our beta. He plays it. He asked why he wasn't able to get to this one spot anymore. I said I fixed it. And he said, that's not why I was showing you these things. I just wanted to share something I thought was fun.
Yeah.
And so nowadays I only correct it if it's like clearly broken. You should not be able to get there, and getting there will fix.
What are you doing?
Breaking, you can't progress through the game.
No, I've told my chat straight up that I don't fix fun bugs. Oh, I'm clicking on the wrong thing. There we go. Well, no, I think that's different because I make every level. Like my philosophy is that every level is a playground, and I want players to do whatever, and I only require so much from the player, and then I let them just have fun after that. But I'm trying to think of where I even got this from. Because like there's ways to play a game that aren't fun. And I'd try to play Oblivion. Like the one game that I was just mad at because I think it tried to let me do anything. And I was trying to do different things, and instead of making what I wanted to do fun, it just felt like banging my head against a wall, and it didn't tell me I couldn't do these things. And I hated it. I absolutely hated the game. Because I wanted to like stand back and had all these perks on being an archer, and I shot things and they'd come and kill me anyway. And every now and then I see people say like, there's no wrong way to play a game. Like let the player do what they want to do. But like, do you feel like it's our responsibility to think of what the player could do that could lead them to like just not having fun and steer them towards like, well, if you do this, it'll be more rewarding, or you have to learn this, and once you learn this, then once you understand the systems more, it'll just be more rewarding time. Like I think at the end, it's like who knows more about the game, the developer, the player, or how much authority should the
That's an
developer
interesting way to
have?
ask that question. I
Yeah.
like that.
It's weird. It's a weird one. Because you want to say, like, oh, well, the player can do whatever they want. Because freedom is the best thing, right? But at a certain point, you get paralyzed by all these choices. And some of the choices just aren't fun.
Yeah.
And do you want people
Well,
going on YouTube and just
yeah.
not having fun with your game? Like, it's
Well,
this type of
you're a parent,
authority.
Brad. I mean, you're a parent 3 times over. So
Nah.
I mean, I'm not going to tell you anything you don't already know. Not that you're asking because you're trying to learn, but because it's an interesting conversation. But I don't think I have anything to teach you on how to make learning fun. That's part of it. The second, of course, is if we're talking things like tutorialization, things that the player really ought to know that may not be intrinsically intuitive about the game, but that they ought to know if they're going to be able to experience it the way that you want to. And like in our game, we have a pistol whip thing.
Yeah.
It does an effect. It's a useful tool in your toolbox, but you can play the whole game without ever doing it.
Sure.
So how do we translate that to the player without just, I mean, you know, as it were, beating them over the head with the blunt end of the pistol?
Well, like once you say something's not intuitive, like whose fault is that though, right?
Right. Well, that's first off. I mean, short answer: there's no fault.
Okay.
If everything was intuitive, then we're just making a game that's played before.
Well, no, I don't think intuitive means simple or easy. Intuitive means
No. Intuitive means like you get it, and
yeah, okay.
And you make, but more often than not, the reason you get it is because you're designing your game around something that's been done. Not I don't think our game in particular has been done. Fancy Pants, for example, everyone's played Sonic the Hedgehog. There's a lot.
No, don't do that to me. I'll fight you.
No, it's okay.
It's so different though.
You and I, and of course it's different, but there's an intuitive thing about, you know, it's go fast, right? You're supposed to go fast.
Well, so I want to clarify that because I feel like the intuitive part of Fancy Pants, if you go fast, you can launch further because that is. I don't think Sonic ever uses that to full effect. So I'm going to push back on that. I don't think Sonic does it right.
Yeah, but I said that, but I'm hoping you didn't hear your game is Sonic the Hedgehog.
No. I don't. I think what you would. The comparisons that you make, going fast, and then intuitively, what can you do with speed? You can jump farther, you can launch higher. I never felt like Sonic used that properly, other than like just go up, and that's it.
But there's something to be said about, you know, platforms that you can run upside down on. That's a concept that players are just going to get, you know, and a lot of it may just be because they've seen it before. A lot of it could be because it just sort of makes sense, and intuitiveness just really. Eliciting the intuition of the person playing it, and that again can come from any number of things.
I mean, that's really funny because
games in the vacuum, right? Like
right.
We're standing on the shoulders of people who've been doing this long before we came along.
So when I think that running, if you run fast enough, then you can run in a loop. That's not really intuitive, other than Sonic already did it, and so therefore it is intuitive. Or if you see a block that looks breakable. You hit it and you find a secret. If you find something, you can jump and hit. It's interesting because especially with the earlier Fancy Pants games, I stuck with video game jargon, and I thought, I mean, there's silly things to me that like, oh, there's a pipe, it has to be green because that's funny. But then there's this player will know to. I think the simplest one is to hold down jump and you go higher. Some people don't know that.
Yeah.
It's like how. Where do we start from?
That does depend a lot on the kind of games that they've played before. And, of course, whether or not you tutorialize it by putting them into a room where they cannot proceed through the game until they've learned that pressing space or A button or whatever gets them over that jump. And without doing that, they can't proceed through the game.
And I did, in the console game, I did straight up hold, jump to go higher. Because for the longest time, I just, like, that's intuitive to me. But
right. And to some people it's not, and a lot of people playing your game, I'm sure you understood, may not even actually be gamers. Like Brad.
Right. Well, sure.
I love telling people about this, but my one of my little cousins he's like 17 now, he's all grown up. But when he was little, I was surprised and delighted to find out that he knew Fancy Pants, and he was amazed to know that his cousin Michael had worked with this guy, had worked with Brad before.
You made it, Swain. You made it.
Yeah, right?
No.
And watching him play, first off, seeing how he couldn't get certain things to happen in the
game,
because he would play with 2 fingers like this.
Okay,
He move left by going like this, and then move right by going like this, and pressing different
Yeah.
Even something as simple as the placement of the hands on the keyboard or on the controller. These are
Yeah.
things that are not intuitive unless you have done them before.
Well, that's the
And
thing that I
that's
see.
that's how it is.
I see that with the touch screen, right? Because I want people to hold the phone. I don't have my phone for some reason. I want them to hold like a controller because my frame of reference is a controller. But then when I hand the phone to somebody who doesn't, I don't know, doesn't play Fortnite or the Modern Warfare games on phone, they put it down and then they poke at it like this. And so they, or sometimes it's just one finger. And I'm like, no, 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 you need two fingers.
Yeah.
It's such a weird paradigm, and that's one of the best things about consoles is that things are so standardized, and you get your clone games or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's weird. You have to think of who your target audience is, and I think the most interesting part of that is that there's no other form of art that like you need that much context. You need that much prior knowledge. Like somebody can look at a painting and like you don't need to take classes on how to, or you don't need to spend your young life, leveling up your appreciation of paintings. The first time I watch anybody, because when I was in college, that's when like Halo was really taking over. So you'd see people who or grew up in platformers. They'd grab that controller for the first time. They'd put both thumbs on both sticks, and then they just do this, And so for the longest time, like I don't think people understand how unintuitive dual analog first-person shooters is. It's just something you got to learn. That's weird, but like personally, I don't feel like mouse and keyboard for first-person aiming is very intuitive. Like I'm terrible at it, so it's so weird. But like you don't.
First-person games like shooter games.
Yeah, I'm terrible at a mouse, and people are like, oh, mouse will always be better. Okay, yeah, but what if I'm bad at it? Then maybe not so much.
I personally feel that I have a better experience playing with a mouse and keyboard.
Oh, sure.
My phone is going to want to tilt for a second. I have it plugged in, so I have it like jerry-rigged.
There you go. Look, mine is sitting on two clothespins with a cup holding it against my fourth YouTube monitor over there. So whatever you're doing is fine.
On my speaker,
Just gonna.
Battery backup pack.
I'll lean this way.
Keep it from sliding.
We must be having an interesting conversation if you have to charge your phone again.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I feel like we've been at this a while.
Let's see. We've been streaming for it's about an hour. I guess we haven't added mustaches to everything, whatever I'm working on, so we haven't gotten to that point yet. But
yeah, I don't think Madness has any mustaches, by the way. We have beards.
Wait. Okay. Yeah, Hank's more of a beard guy, I would say.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't even really have a jaw. And Matt's actually literally working on that right now. Yeah.
On some beards.
If you ever see underneath his mask, he's got just like a tooth, like teeth along the top of the skull. No jaw.
That's terrifying.
It's pretty horrifying.
I'm never gonna see. Yeah, I'm never gonna see. Is that a spoiler? Should I bleep that out?
No, it's actually from the cartoon.
Oh, okay.
A little bit jacked up.
I'm never gonna see Madness.
Back to life, but not completely old.
See, like, I always, whenever I think of Madness, it's always gonna be that first cartoon, just because the music and the scene and just the introduction to it all is just so perfect. And you can tell Matt that for me. The first.
He can hear you.
Hey Matt, the first Madness cartoon is it's perfection.
I'm giving you the lot to the Matt was in the. Like I said, he's working on the Hank head right. Yeah. I wish you could see what I can see. I guess I could show you. But...
Or should we buy the game for Patreon supporters? Get to see the.
It's not that grisly, but just in case there's any kid.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, look, we were all too young, and we went on Newgrounds, and we saw all the things that we probably shouldn't have, and it was amazing. So.
Yeah, he's looking pretty gnarly.
So is that something that has made its way back into? That's something I always think about, right? Being like 5 games deep into Fancy Pants. I mean, this might be more a question for Matt, but one of the most awesome things about the first Madness was just the contrast, because you thought it was just gonna be this still little flash cartoon, and it just everybody started dying. And
the original Chicken Dance Madness.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, so is that something
It
that
hasn't stopped for like 20 years.
Uh, that,
20 years of because Matt's still working on these cartoons on his time. He's still making Matt's.
uh, I haven't seen one in a while. I just remember being like, "Oh, the animation's even better. Oh god, I got to step my animation up." Damn.
Yeah, yeah. When send the kids to bed and go look up one of his most recent. It was 11.
Absolutely.
yeah, I did that last year.
Man,
Yeah,
I is it just on YouTube, I'm guessing?
yeah, yeah. It's on YouTube.
Yeah,
Andy Valley, I forget what you're.
You just look at
Just Crinkles, yeah.
yeah, so that's there's something about like I remember asking Tom, and this was back in the day also, like what happened to Strawberry Clock, and he's like, we might, I think they found who he was, and then he, went off and did his own thing with life. Like there's so many people who made these animations and games that like changed people's lives, and then they just went on to be an accountant or whatever.
Well, we
And
didn't have very good memes back in like 2000 for any at all. So things like B,
yeah,
suddenly became this hilarious like in joke.
yeah, but like,
Maybe because we were like, Mark, whether or not you guys belong to the same in crowd. Are you?
oh yeah, no, there were memes. Somebody,
True.
no, the best, my favorite line from the Wired article was that Flash games were social currency. I feel like memes are kind of that now, but like you would
Yeah,
send,
yeah.
you would send your friend this amazing animation, and they would send you B, and you'd be like, what? And like we used to watch Rokimon, which was just like horrendously offensive, and being high schoolers, we're just giggling the whole time. Um, but no, this like a webcomic artist that I really loved, and he did some animations for the Eric the Juice Man series.
Okay,
I
yeah.
You seen that?
I remember the name. How old was this?
Oh,
Actually, we need to
back
start
when we
looking
were
around.
back when we were
Yeah.
making stuff. I helped him with one of the later ones with some like just some menus and stuff. And so there's a little Fancy Pants Man in one of the backgrounds, which is amazing. But I realized like last year or so he did a new web comic, because there's so many things that have just like disappeared from like they just don't exist anymore because things have moved on. And like when I see like that, like Crinkles is still releasing Madness cartoons, or like when I see these web comics coming back, it's just like a piece of me
Yeah.
like lives on. It's just such a great feeling. There was there's this stupid animation. I'm sure like you have your own, right? It's like you can't defend it. This is the dumbest animation, but you absolutely love it. You've quoted a million times. Nobody gets what you're saying,
Oh, yeah.
right? Because there's the Dave
Yeah.
Chappelle
That's where it makes
quotes.
its way into your vernacular too. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So like whenever something's like I'm waiting for something, I go loading, loading. Is this Kamikaze Freak Bird on Newgrounds? It's in my favorites.
Mhm.
It's the dumbest animation. I absolutely love it. But like not only I feel like you'd ever see anything like that anymore, but
Mhm.
I went back to see it because like my kids asked me where that was from because I just kept saying it. And like let's pull a stupid animation up. And because I don't have dial-up anymore, there was no loading screen. And so I
Right.
couldn't even see the loading screen. It felt like it just had been deleted off the internet. So I had to download it and decompile it and grab that as a video file. Like I had to hack up the Swift just to grab that, because it was this thing that had become such a part of me that
Yeah.
like I physically couldn't even like watch it anymore. It was just this existential dread I got just from that moment. It was crazy.
That is pretty fun.
So when are you getting back into Blockhead cartoons? I think is where I'm going with this.
Yeah. Well, so I've always wanted to do a Blockhead VR game in Unity, but that's a pipe dream and not likely.
Oh
But
man, that sounds like so much more work than an animation.
I think it'd be great. Like it's you and Blockhead like running around destroying every side of,
Yeah,
and it's all physics, things falling apart. It'd be pretty easy to make something.
we were
Also,
talking about putting Blockhead in a 2D animation, a 2D game engine. He'd like grapple tongue everywhere, and is any
Yeah.
of those features in that?
I was always hoping that Newgrounds Rumble 2 would come out so we could OT between Fancy Pants Man. Which,
We were gonna live stream that.
The victor, right?
Yeah, we were talking about that. I was telling Aaron -1. He didn't make that, so we could live stream that from Comic Con. Blockhead versus
Yeah.
Fancy Pants Man. Oh, that would have been
Yeah, it's
amazing.
really a shame. I don't even know what he's working on these days. I still say hey to him.
You still what?
I used to say, well, I say hey to him from time to time. Like
Oh,
I'll
hey,
say
yeah. I haven't talked to him
like,
forever.
once a year just to make sure everybody's alive. I guess.
Yeah, I'm terrible with that. I guess once you have kids, you just kind of forget that other people exist, and I've always been a bit of a
Yeah, that's
hermit.
a good point.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, like we were talking about Pico Day before that. So it gives me
Mhm.
hope that like the Flash artists are still getting back together, because we got to do that someday and just like live stream the
Oh
whole
yeah.
damn thing.
Well, I mean, bear in mind that was like for example, we brought up Oni, Chris O'Neill, and he's actually the reason why with
Hmm.
this thing I'm wearing from the JonTron game.
Yeah, talk a bit about that, because that was
That
amazing.
was yeah, that was a funny thing to like. The thing got released one day, and later that evening, I'm getting text messages from a bunch of my friends because
Yeah.
the circles I travel in, some of them know me that I was on Newgrounds at a point and had heard of the site independent of me. Some of them even like knew my work before we'd ever met.
Yeah, because
But
well, Ego
but
Raptor was a Flash artist, but JonTron just like was a YouTuber in the beginning. So
exactly, yeah, that's an excellent distinction, right? So showing up on Game Grumps, it would be like, yeah, sure, like Aaron and Swain made some really dumb together on
yeah,
alternate accounts on
yeah.
Newgrounds that we talk about, absurd, a little bit embarrassing. Or hey, Swain was on Sleepy Cabin, doing the Sleepy Cast thing with Oni and Psychic Pebbles, Bryce Pirate, Stamper, yeah, blah blah blah. But yeah, of course, because we know each other through, um, that kind of thing. But JonTron, apparently he and Chris O'Neill are buddies. They're good friends, and I had met JonTron once at like Stamper's house. Like it's not like we knew each other, but we knew each other. And so Chris emails me, or I mean, who emails to talk. It's 2020. He Discord me and tells me, hey, would you want to do a game? It'd be pretty simple. It's like we need 3 people. I'm like, let's get Crinkles, let's get Matt involved because
Yeah.
because he and I have worked together now
Yeah.
for, at the time 5 years. So that's if we're doing a game jam, it's best people that work together. And that was basically it. And we got in touch with JonTron. We started talking with him all the time. We became better friends with the guy, and he invited to do the jam with him out in Weehawken, New Jersey, which is like across the water from New York City from it. And yeah, he drove us out. He flew everywhere. We're in Philly, so for us it's a bus ride.
Yeah, JonTron, he definitely, I've seen a few video updates where he just wants to like elevate everything and up the production value. So not too surprised about that.
I don't know if you've seen any like behind the scenes stuff like on his Twitter, but he had an entire crew working that. It looked like it was just
Yeah, of course.
3 jerks making a video game, and then his wife, John's wife, makes a cameo.
Yeah.
For the like the twist ending, but no, there was like 4 sound guys, 2 makeup, 2 women doing makeup.
Yeah, damn.
We had we had a gaffer. We had an actual, honestly, got gaffer.
It's like the money goes into making it look like nobody's there. It's all invisible. It's like the good polish in a video game. It's all invisible. Tying it back around.
Right. Yeah, it's like long shots in a movie. Sometimes you don't want to do it. Sometimes because it adds anxiety.
Yeah.
It rips you out of the moment when you realize all those people had to memorize those lines and get it perfectly for the first 10 minutes.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, all that is to say, we went to the game jam. It was a lot of fun.
Did it ever? I have to ask, and you can tell me. You can cut me off.
Sure.
Like, who was the original narrator? Can you say, or did that ever come out?
I think
Not the
I'm
narrator.
pretty sure we're not supposed to, but
Okay,
I
well,
can't tell you that it was not that rude.
it wasn't the one that everybody thinks.
Well, some people said Ego. It's definitely not Ego.
Okay. That was number one guess, of course.
No, it's not. I don't know if John and Ego have bad blood because John used to be on Game Grumps, so now he's doing better than he ever did when he was on it, subscriber wise anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's bad blood. I don't even know if there's a reason. But no, it wasn't Air to show up. The guy that was, he basically he wasn't able to complete his flight, and
Sure.
Yeah, so he had to go home. It's unfortunate. Everything's fine, but yeah, he wasn't.
Yeah, so it's not so. I feel like the internet has to go straight to the most drama possible. Scorned again or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, no, it was definitely not Aaron. I do know that Aaron and Chris O'Neill are not the best of friends, which is a shame. I don't know if they hang out anymore. I don't think they do. But yeah, it would have been kind of weird for me. I mean, I like Aaron still. I thought Aaron was a good guy.
Yeah, we hung out with him quite a bit back then. It's so again, it feels like I say it's like a different lifetime for me, but it's like a different personality for him. You know, it's making that transition to from Flash to, has he even animated anything? That's my main thing. Like, what's the last thing he animated?
I think I couldn't imagine he is an animator, not just a guy who did it because that was, you know, a way to express himself. He was quintessentially an animator. That's okay. I'm gonna go take the dog out for just a second.
Sure. That's gonna force me to remember what I was even working on. I think I'm trying to figure out why this stupid camera's doing this. You can go down here. Say yes on Discord if you see this message. What? Can I say yes over here? When might World 2 Remaster come out? I mean, that actually depends a lot on when I move on to the next game, and oh man, something's being weird over here. So usually I can just kind of drop some stuff in and it's working, but it's not. Man, so how are you guys doing? I don't think we even have that many people. I thought getting Swain on would get a few more viewers. That guy's famous after all. But how you guys doing? Why did I change? All right, that's a pretty good one. I don't think I changed any of the physics from Parse Remix to SFBA. The main thing that changed between the two was just the camera. Goodbye. Empty chair. I'm gonna see if I can actually fix Swain's audio because I think. Oh no, he's back. There it is. Output device. I think this is what you're doing that's messing this up. Your stupid output device. And what I want to do is put that on the capture plus speakers. I'm going to try to make your audio sound better. Let's go back to you and then say something.
Something. How am I coming through?
All right. Does that sound better, guys? Because now he's actually being piped straight through the audio instead of going through the microphone. And if it's echoing, I can throw the headphones on. How does that sound? Are you gonna get the other artist on stream? I should. It's so weird. I look up to. I mean, honestly, Swain, I look up to you too. Like, I just again just the Flash. Like, I'm amazed that I even felt like I was a part of that at all. You know? And like just that. No, the Swain is right there with his Marty McFly haircut, and he's just talking to everybody in blockhead voice. And I was like,
I missed that. I still like try to do it from time to time. But.
It was great. It was very like, oh yeah, that one. There he is, right there.
Yeah.
Like the best part for me, like I don't want to repeat myself too much, but like I said, I would have made World 1 just to feel like I was in that community because it was so awesome. But after releasing that and being able to talk to people and having them be like, oh yeah, I played that.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Jenna's in the chat. What's up, honey? Are you making sure I'm not doing deviant things over here? The house is not burning. Oh.
Jenna, he keeps saying cuss words and he won't stop.
Nora says hi.
He keeps triggering me and I don't know why.
I'm trying to get juicy details from Swain about JonTron. It's cool. Yeah, I don't know. Give me some food. It's fine. We'll eat on stream. We'll make this. We'll change the genre of the stream entirely. But yeah, like after World 1, the fact that anybody knew it, like I felt like I think the coolest thing for me about Fancy Pants is being able to go to something like that and saying like, yeah, I made Fancy Pants Adventures.
Yeah.
Do you want to be in the second one? And people like, oh yeah, sure, why not? Like I know what that is. And like going to Adam Phillips, who I mean, he was legitimately a Disney animator and still just makes amazing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And him being like, yeah, I like that game. I'll put a level in there. That's crazy. So I would love to talk to everyone. I'm gonna try not to be too like starstruck for some of those guys. But man, I gotta catch up with with Sean, and well, Tommy and I have been working on like chapter 2 or Super Fancy Pants 2 stuff. So
Nice.
I've
Has
been
Tommy
working
always
with
worked with you? I mean, I remember his level.
we've been meaning to like make something together for decades.
Yeah.
We were working on. I need to stream with him just so we can put on Fraser's Ride, because he did the level, and before that we were working on Fraser's Ride together, and that just never came out because he would like, yeah, you work with people. I've been still doing stuff alone. Maybe it'd be interesting to ask you like how different is working with Matt versus when you were doing like Mastermind, and what else did you do like completely by yourself?
Mastermind was my first main game. I had done the
Yeah.
puzzle Mastermind, the puzzle game for that, but I didn't code
Yeah.
it. I just did the art and
But like
voices.
when you're working with people, they'll do something, and this is even my earliest stuff when I was terrible. Like I'd work with Mark Fleeg Jr. He's in the Snowblitz credits,
Okay.
and he's working at Bungie now, which is like, dude, okay.
Yeah.
Again, it's like the humble beginnings, I guess. But like they'd show you something, an artist shows you something, you're like, oh, it's really good, I gotta make this better. And then they'd be like, oh, that throw feels really good, well, the animation needs to be better. And then they'd send you something, you'd throw it in, you're like, oh, now the enemy needs a hit. Like you just leapfrog each other, and it's this exponential just trying to outdo each other, and it looks things end up way better than you'd ever thought. And so with Fraser's Ride, Tommy would do a background. I'd just be like, that's amazing. I need to make everything tile and scroll perfectly. And I did. And he's like, well, now everything needs shadows. And he'd redo it. And it's like, well, now we need a hidden area with treasure. And like, that looks so good. I have no gameplay to go with that. And I never felt like the gameplay of that game caught up to the just how everything looked. And like all his menus were amazing. And so for years, like, we needed to release a game together. And so I'm like, dude, I want you to work on the concepts for the next game.
Yeah.
And so we finally have something there, and I don't know, see from there. But yeah, how's it like for you? Like, because there's a trade-off of you don't have to explain yourself when making a decision if you're the only one you're explaining to, right? But then at the same time, it's kind of hard to surprise yourself with different things.
Yeah, that is true. It's hard to have that moment of amazement. It happens sometimes when something together. I know that's kind of broad. It is easier when, like, for me, like I whip something up where characters can do a thing in the game, and I can show Matt, and that can be surprising to him, and hopefully like motivating. And then flip it around. For me, it's nice. Matt has an idea and works on something and see it, and then I didn't have a thing. There it is. It's just a thing for game, and now it'll be better. Some new animation or set. Dog is playing by herself right now.
But like, how does that compare to like working by yourself? Do you feel like that pushes the quality of things, just having just only one more person on the project? Or
it does for sure. Specifically because Matt and I work well. We've never I don't think we've ever discussed a thing in the game that was like one of us really wanted it and the other didn't, and we just we couldn't agree. Because I think
lucky.
we want
Jeez.
That's it's good that we have a good like working relationship, and that we can kind of like rely on the other to I guess like ping pong the ball back and forth and until finally an idea fully develops, and we're just really motivated once we get it.
Yeah, how often do you ping pong with different things? Or is there I feel like an example would be really cool. I don't know if that's like giving away too much, but like has something ever, like in World 2, the whole idea of the snail shell golf came from my cousin trying to just, being a goof and trying to get the snail shell into different places. And I'm like, wait, that's awesome. Let's do that. And even just have, seeing what people do with the game. So for me, snail shell golf was a result of like just going back and forth with players. Is there any like feature that came out of that for you?
Like doing stuff with players and they sort of like.
Or well, I mean, specifically with Matt. But like, is there a feature that you can point to that snowballed from just like, hey, look at this. Oh, that's really cool. What if I do this? And then like, that progression I think is really interesting.
I guarantee you that we've been through that, but off the top of my
Just
head,
everything.
I'm struggling to think of it. If I come up with something, I'll let you know. I'll think about it.
Yeah, because I always want to give like video games are just such. Oh, what did I do?
No, I'm okay. I had to plug in my phone. It's,
Oh, okay.
I'm still here.
like, wait, I know that. That's Oh, that's weird. Is that your? I don't know. Okay, I don't know if that's my desktop or your desktop or if it's just glitching out. Oh wait, I don't even. It's fine. I actually think I forgot to put you back on after that. But the I was there. We go. Okay, I was thinking about the audio. You guys, chat is really not helping here. Apparently, my wife and my kids are watching this and they can't tell me that I forgot to put my guest's face back on.
Right.
That's fine. But yeah, I mean, the main
I think I must have been gone since I left to take care of the.
Yeah, I must have hid you and then forgot. This is a very professional show we're doing here.
Oh, that's
and
okay.
it's weird because I'm watching up here too. But
yeah.
But oh well, as long as we can hear you. And hopefully it sounds better than before because it should be piping it back in. And oh, Swain's got an echo.
I'm here.
Let me.
I'm plugging in a controller. I'd kind of met, but I hadn't quite got there yet. That we have controllers for the game,
nice.
So you can actually play multiplayer local up to 3 players now. We're going for 4. I just have to set up the. But yeah.
Let me put in a headphone because it sounds like you are echoing. So, all right, guys, does Swain sound better now? Let's see. They're just amazed that you have a controller. Online multiplayer, what about that? Or is that just too big a step?
You know how these things are. Like, it's like if I asked you to would you turn Fancy Pants into multiplayer? Like, your entire engine is based on it being single.
I mean, I would in a heartbeat, but it would take a lot.
Yeah.
A lot more money than.
Yeah, it would.
Well, we did that for the console one. We played that.
You're not working on with. Well, yeah, like for example, you have the capacity to local multiplayer, couch co-op, which is awesome. I love that. With the 360 and PS3 version. I mean, when you have EA's money on it instead of just mine or someone else's. Yeah,
we
that's what I'm
did
about, right? I played that multiplayer a lot. I think me and Afro just
Yeah, Afro kicked the poop out of me on my own game. That was considering how badly he beat me at Smash Brothers. I shouldn't have been surprised, but yeah, we definitely played online sometime after launch on Fancy Pants, so that was cool. He sounds better now. Okay, yeah. So I think I got you piped in through the thing. It's like hours later, and it finally sounds good. But that's how we work here. One day I'll get a team. We'll have a whole crew working.
Yeah, that's the dream, right? Assemble the team.
Yeah. It's you make games to make money, and you make money to make games and whatnot, right? What is up with your level here?
I don't know. It's pretty good, isn't it?
I don't know. I'm glitching out. Something here sucks. I don't think it's my code.
Every time you jump at it, it's teleporting you back?
Yeah, you know what? It might just be. Let's take a look. You know what? I made this game so I can peer into the void. Looks like something here is. There's probably so many like weird things that I put in for the older engine to make it work properly. And then every now and then I realized I just like stuck all the foreground into the ground clip or, everything. You know what? I think, you know what I bet it is? I duplicated the walls to make the ground, and I bet that the walls are now the ground also. Because that's... No, I don't know. I'm going to get off, once you're like sitting and not thinking like, oh, how boring is it to be fixing something while other people are watching? It's probably something stupid, but apparently there's something there. And I think, did you have platforms there? Do you remember? I'm going to guess there's platforms there. No, how did you get up there? Oh, you had to go all the way around. Wow, your level's way bigger.
Yeah, you jump up there, you do that. You bounce left off the wall jump there on the left, and you ride down the long yellow boy. You go through the building, and then I remember you drop down off onto the first right.
Oh, I almost guarantee you that I made this works slanted just for you. Because there's nowhere else in the game. But that's weird. You give like the tools to other people, and they do surprising things with it.
We had those in Mirror's Edge. We had the clotheslines.
That was an updated
that.
version of the World 3 engine though. That was like way more complicated. Yeah. That it was updated a lot. It was still an AS2, but it was improved a ton for Fancy Pants World 3. And so Mirror's Edge I consider like 2.5 of the Fancy Pants engine.
Yeah.
But the moving and sliding and hanging is kind of a super thing. So it'll at least it's not a weird feature that I have to port back in from that I have to like rewrite like the dumb cannon was. But like with -1, he's like, oh, I can put a cannon in my level. And I'm like, oh, I made that for level 3, but yeah, I guess so. You know, like for me with stupid things like that, I would just make them for one level. And then like I didn't even think that somebody else might want to even use it. It was weird. It's so much. I don't know. I don't even know if I can even like describe how different it is to see like other people get your toys, like to get your tool set, and then what they do with it. It's crazy.
Yeah, and that's going to be interesting if we in Madness ever decide that we.
It's cutting out every now and then. Say it again.
Oh, sorry.
It's cutting out. Yeah.
With how am I doing now?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds fine, but it'll drop a word every now and then. It depends on how important the word is.
Yeah, I'm getting the same experience with you. It's fine.
Yeah, nothing. Like it was great before, but nothing technological tends to work for a long period of time. It either works terrible the entire time, or works great and then deteriorates. So.
Yeah.
But yeah. What were you saying there?
Yeah, that shoot, what was I saying?
I was assuming, like, my brain was filling in the blanks that like character or level creation sort of thing. User content.
We want to have Steam workshops of Madness, and I'm going to do everything I can to have the modders get what they need so that they can basically free of charge give our game legs so that it can be relevant way into the future. That's just good investment of time.
Sure.
But we were talking at some point about like giving players literally the tools like a map maker in order to make stages. But we have a map maker already. Fancy Pants has Flash, and Project Nexus Madness has Unity.
Yeah, that's what I was actually about to use.
Mostly what editing is going to be.
Or about to ask. So like, if you were to have people pull in 3D models and stuff, and like would you need to make an entirely different like scripting language, like a JSON to describe where things are going to be, or like I actually don't know that much about the Steam Workshop, how that pulls in data, or what kind of data it can use.
Yeah, I think there's different kinds. It's sort of up to you to decide which. There's games like City Skylines, which I believe made in Unity, but it's
I believe so.
Yeah, but you can add your own custom scripts, and it compiles at the beginning with custom scripts added by players early on. In the at runtime, at like when the game launches, it compiles up from scratch. So you can totally add things that completely screw up the game, but it gives players full access to modify just about anything.
So it's not even like player maps, but like
they can do it that way, sure. But they can just edit the code to like access files from folders on the computer. Like you can do the stuff. I don't want to give them that much control.
Yeah, well, for your levels though, they're not like level chunks that are assembled that a user would be able to describe the assembly of. Like they're just Unity 3D models that are loaded. So it's not like a tile-based 3D sort of thing.
Correct. Yeah, everything is a custom designed map by map. Every single is. I mean, there's some reuse from time to time. Yeah. Like you don't want to design the same rectangular communist block multiple times. There's no need.
Got enough of those as it is.
Yeah, got enough. We have that for days, so we're good. But yeah, like I don't know, we'll see what I want to see what kind of stuff. Like we know that there are weapons, we know that there are characters, we know that there are outfits, and we know that there are stages. And these things use a variety of other objects that sort of exist in the game library.
How do you
And-
place objects? Is that all prefabs in Unity, or are you using like placers, like objects that players could later?
Yeah, like placeholder stuff. See, that's the thing is if we give players access to our tools, then I mean people are going to steal assets where they're going to steal assets. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean people are gonna pirate your game. They're gonna pirate the game.
Yeah, right. I mean that's going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
And if anything,
What are you
you
gonna
have to it. That's the only way you can get ahead of it. It's weird. It seems counterintuitive, but you
Wait,
help
say
them
that. Say that
pirate
one
it.
again. I might have missed
If
something
you help
there.
them, I
Okay.
said a lot of times if you help players pirate your game, it comes back around and helps you in the long run.
In
Because
which way?
They're going to get copies anyway.
Like giving them copies, or like making it more moddable? What
Yeah,
are you referring
more
to there?
moddable, sure, but people are going to go and they're going to the game. It's going to happen.
Okay. Well, yeah, sure.
So giving them access to versions of the game to be pirated that have some level, like it was the Spyro thing. I think was one of the first
Yeah.
anti-pirate games. Where
Spyro's an interesting
Yeah.
deep dive there.
yeah, that was basically base it around that. People are going to steal the game, so make sure the one that you want, and that's the one that doesn't work entirely,
Right.
or some feature of the game is missing or unplayable, that kind of thing. But I mean, that's just sort of a topic.
Yeah, no, it's fun to see, like what
Yeah.
people are worried about and thinking about there. I'm just trying to remember where these stupid hanging things are, because in the original engine they were just more blobs, just like the platforms are. But in this one, the hanging things, since they're always flat, they're the clips that use like the moving platform. So the moving platforms use real code, so it's more like a real video game. And I'm just putting that in the wrong thing.
I know we've got them all fooled. They all think they're
Look,
making a real game.
you know what? I will always remember this. I think we were talking about animation, and I said, to me, whenever Fanspan's Man stops moving, that's when he stops being alive. And I think I might have said that on the last live stream. And I'm pretty sure it was you that said, yeah, but animation is just about fooling people. So if it's not moving, why would you redraw it? Like, it's because the entire point of animation is to trick people.
Yeah.
Sounds like something you'd say.
Let's just say yes. I'll take credit for that.
Yeah.
I don't
yeah,
remember specifically, but yeah, it's a
'cause you've
sentiment I
done-
share. Find that.
What's that?
It's a sentiment that I do share. That I
Yeah.
agree with that, so yeah.
But it's funny because to me, I don't know. Maybe it's because maybe it's just because I understand my own animation, right? But you're looking more at how people perceive it rather than like what it actually is, which is probably way smarter and allows you to actually release things ever.
Right.
So probably a much better way of looking at that.
Yeah.
But I always find that interesting, even with game design. You know, how much of it is just trickery, which is usually just all of it, right?
Oh yeah, and that's why we stop them from getting behind the boundaries of the game to see it from another.
Yeah.
Because if they do, they'll know that we're hacked, and it also ruins the illusion that we're trying to create.
Right. And how much of it is what parts would you consider like real? I mean, I guess more like a physics simulation or something, but like what parts of a game aren't an illusion, you think?
The player experience.
Yeah, okay. Good answer.
I think legitimately, on the backbreaking labor that we put into years of development, that's also very real. But as far as the end product goes, it's the player's experience. And this, I know, ties back into how much responsibility developers give the player fun to make them happy versus allowing it, striking a balance.
Should I like restart your video because it's getting really choppy? I'm just worried we're like.
I don't know. I saw some stuttering or two, even like the audio I hear comes in.
Yeah, because this was
so.
perfect earlier, and then my computer's not even.
Well, honestly, Brad, that might be a good transition. It's already like 80 over.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. But,
Everything's
would you have me
breaking
back
down.
on?
Let's just shut it off.
All right.
Well,
it's
I mean, we
over.
got
Shut it
what
down.
six other cameo artists I have to have first before having you on a second live stream. But
Right. Yeah. The cycle has to complete before I can.
get in
Move back
line,
to the
man.
top of
Come
that.
on. No, I would.
Yeah.
I'm just doing these live streams. It's just me talking to the chat. So this was fantastic. Because look, I'm in New Orleans. There's like 2 other video game companies here and a few guys making stuff. But for the most part, it's I'm kind of in a vacuum as far as games are. So it's awesome to just be able to sit and talk about video games.
Yeah, I like shooting the breeze with you.
And you're more of an animator, which is well, I don't know. So you wouldn't even consider yourself, do you consider yourself an animator anymore? Before I need to know this.
I can't say I'm an animator the way that I can't say that I'm a chef. I can extremely well, and I've earned it. I've worked really hard to earn. Say that.
So that's why I don't see any. That's why I don't see any animations on your Twitter. Just food. Is that it?
Yeah, right. Well, yeah. Exactly. So if I won't even call myself a chef because I've never worked the line, I forget culinary school. Who cares? I've never worked the line. I've never had to make the same meal over every 30 seconds for an entire dinner shift, let alone make a. I'm no chef. That's what the chef.
That's interesting. It's like suffering makes you that thing.
Yeah.
Oof, that's a terrible way to think about it. I guess I'm a developer because I've worked for a bunch of terrible clients requesting bizarre things in freelance games. So I'm a developer.
Yeah,
that's fun or awful. Oh man, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how much words are going through, but this has been pretty amazing. This has definitely inspired me to make sure I get in touch with everyone else about this, and then I'm gonna have to make it to Pico Day and see how everybody's doing. Damn.
Yeah, you should. I'll talk to Tom at the very least. Because
see if Tom remembers me. We'll see.
Oh, of course he remembers you.
I know. Oh, I love Tom. Dude, Tom's like the nicest guy, right?
He is. He's still doing well. Best. I like him.
Good, yeah. I would hate to think Newgrounds got shut down and Tom is homeless somewhere or something, because he just deserves the best.
Yeah. Yes,
Tom, when is Tom making and this might just be Newgrounds, but when is he making the replacement for YouTube? Because I think we're all sick of YouTube at this point.
A little known fact, and after this, I suppose Linda will be a good segue. He had the opportunity. He had the idea for YouTube in 2000, before it existed.
Say the thing again. I think that's say that sentence again because it bleeped out or blurped out.
Oh, no problem. I'll also try to talk slower so that the bleeps cut out fewer.
We'll only get half a word bleeped out.
Yeah, exactly, and then they can just infer it. Tom Fulp had the idea for YouTube, and everybody's got ideas all the time. So was that actually? Tom Fulp had the means of actually making YouTube, as Newgrounds could have been the place where you go to do what YouTube is now, to upload videos. He made the decision because remember, he had the fan base.
I think I remember.
He could have done this.
Yeah.
But he chose not to, and he kept Newgrounds honest and lost on, we don't know that Newgrounds would have made it as next YouTube. It could have been the next Vimeo or something.
The important part of that is that they got bought by Google. I feel like even if Newgrounds did that, they needed to have gotten bought by Google to become YouTube.
Yeah,
right?
the price tag doesn't get sold cheap. But nevertheless, Brad, I'm going to take off. Okay, man.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This has been most fun I've had on a live stream, I think. Other than putting mustaches on literally everything in my game, this has been amazing.
Yeah, this is a close second. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. Yeah. I'll have to. I'm not gonna lie. We'll put you behind the mustaches, but but man, I'll throw a link to Madness in there, and I'm not gonna say this is promotion because I'm sure everybody knows Madness way more than our little silly talk here, but.
Could be, probably.
But I'll try to catch up. I'll try to catch everybody up on what you've been working on because it looks amazing. And
awesome,
it was awesome talking to you. Hopefully sometime soon, man.
Brad. Yeah, let's do this again. All right.
Indeed. See you, man.
Take care. And bye, chat. Thanks for having me, guys. All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.